Well, greetings, Mr. Kolazar's class. Our section now is going to be on naming alkenes and alkynes when it comes to naming our straight chains. So as we're going to be looking at alkenes and alkynes. Remember, we've already started off with alkanes, so that's going to be the differences in that suffix. So alkenes are going to be unsaturated hydrocarbons, meaning they don't have all the hydrogens because they contain at least one double bond in their structure. Now our structure before, remember now 2n is going to be the number of hydrogens we have, where n is going to be how many carbons. So doubling the number of carbons gives us how many hydrogens we have. So we've lost that plus 2. Because when we see a double bond, this will be an example of our double bond here, this carbon now can only have one hydrogen attached to it because it has 1, 2, 3. That fourth bond is there, and this one can only have one. So when it comes to our hydrogen amount, we lose out on how many, oops, we need one more hydrogen over there, on how many total hydrogens we can have. So anytime we have a double bond, we lose out on some of those hydrogens being placed in there. So 2n is how many hydrogens are possible. Alkynes then, yne, is going to be where there's a triple bond. So we have our carbon, 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 and in this case, between these two carbons, there's been a triple bond in place. So for this carbon, it's bonded to 3 and then 4, so no hydrogens can be here. We can have a hydrogen off both sides here. Oh boy, that got a little messy. A hydrogen, a hydrogen, a hydrogen, and a hydrogen, a hydrogen, a hydrogen. But these two in the middle already have their 4 bonds, so it's actually going to be 2n and then minus 2. Remember, our alkanes were the 2n plus 2, where they had all single bonds. So that's going to be our key part as we're going forward there. Now when it comes to drawing these, alkynes and alkenes, so we're looking at ENS and YNS. We're going to be looking at using the organic prefix, the amount of bonds to the chain, and then we're going to create multiple bonds based on the ending either ENE or YNE. Remember, that's going to be the double bond. Double bond, and then YNE is our triple bond. And then if we did have ANEs, remember that's our single bond. So when we look at all these, carbon always makes 4 bonds, so we're going to have enough hydrogens to make everybody happy. So our first example, propene. Prop, beginning there, is a 3-carbon chain. And then ENE means we're going to have a double bond. So when we make propene, we have 1, 2, 3 carbons, and we're going to have double bond associated with it for propene. Now remember, if we were to look at how many hydrogens, we'd have a hydrogen, 2 hydrogens, 1 hydrogen here, 2, 3 here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total hydrogens. 3 times 2 would give us our 6. So our formula here would be C3H6 for propene. Propyne, however, now 3 carbons and a triple bond. For propyne, now we have 1, 2 going to there, so that's showing that we're having triple bond, and it probably is better if I write it up top then, I'm sorry about that, to show our triple bond. Now in this case, this carbon here has 1, 2, 3, 4 bonds to it, so it can't have any more hydrogens. This carbon here can have 1 hydrogen to it, and this one can have 3 hydrogens to it. So when we talk about this carbon, 1, 2, 3, 4 hydrogens, instead, when we double minus 2, we would have 6 minus 2, so 3 times 2, and then -2C3H4 would be our propyne combination there. Now to start moving our double bond, we can also add in multiple double bonds. So 2,4-hexa, 6 carbons, di 2-ene double bonds. And the 2 and the 4 are where they're located at. So if we start off with hexane, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is our hexane. At the second carbon, so carbon 1 is here, carbon 2, 3, 4, 6. So at the 2, so starting at the 2 is where that double bond would start at. And at the fourth carbon, to the fifth one, would be 2,4-hexadiene, a 6-carbon chain with 2 double bonds. That's what the di is, and then their placement is there. So when naming these, the prefix, excuse me, the suffix ene is for alkenes, yne for alkynes, and then remember alkanes, ane is for our single bonds. So when we look at these, we're going to use the organic prefixes with the correct ending, ene for double, yne for triple bonds, so double and triple bonds. Number the carbon chain to give the lowest number to the multiple bond location. Indicate the location of the multiple bonds. Do not require the number of carbon chains for a 1, 2, or 3 carbon. So if we have methane, ethane, or propane, we don't need to have the number 1, 2, or 3. And then we're going to use Greek prefixes, mono, di, tri, etc. for more than one double bond or more than one multiple bond. So in our first one here, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 carbon chain. So we have butane, but since we have a triple bond, butane turns to butene. And where does that butene start, or where does that triple bond start? It starts at the first carbon. So our name here is going to be 1-butene. So 1-butene is our name for this compound. 4-carbon chain with at the 1 carbon, we have a triple bond. For the second one, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 carbon chain, and we have a triple bond. So 4 carbons again, butene, but now it's at the 1, 2. The second carbon is where the double bond starts. So now this is going to be 2-butene. Triple bond is what we're showing here at the second carbon. And now, if we had more than one double or triple bond in, what we're going to use is we're going to add the Greek prefixes right before our suffixes. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a 5-carbon chain, pentane, but now we've got double bonds, so pentene, and we have 1, 2 double bonds. So our numbers are always separated by commas. So we'd have one at 1 and at 3, 1, 3, pentane, but now it's pentene. So penta, and how many double bonds? We have 2, pentadiene. So we're putting that, showing that we have 1, 2 double bonds, their location, and that's showing we have 2 in double bonds. Our next one that we have here, we've got a triple bond here. So we've got 1 carbon, 2, 3, 4 carbons. So bute is our prefix here. And at the second carbon, we have a triple bond. So second carbon, 2, second carbon, 2 dash, separate our numbers, bute, and then to end, yne. So 2-butene would be our name, our number, our naming of our compound there. And that will end our chapter on naming double and triple bonds.